Hello, everybody, and welcome to End Times Talk. I was just sent a news thingamabobber here. Um, um, Give me a moment here. I'm trying to mute my cell phone before I do anything here because it's just keeps going off. All right, so my buddy Dalton had sent me a clip here, and I'm just going to share that with you guys now, and then we'll talk about it.
The federal government has intercepted encrypted communications believed to have originated in Iran and sent a warning to law enforcement agencies across the country. Those communications could serve as triggers for sleeper assets outside the Middle East, but there is no specific threat to any specific location.
Everybody knew that this is the likely scenario. We go to war with Iran, we should expect that their proxies are possibly being activated, and we all need to be on heightened alert.
Meantime, President Trump says Iran's new supreme leader is unacceptable. The person chosen to succeed.
All right, so I don't really care about that because he's probably going to end up being dead here in a little bit. But with that being said, it says here, summary of the threat to the United States. The ongoing Iran conflict is causing a heightened threat environment in the United States. Low-level cyber attacks, and this is exactly what me and Gray were just talking about on the phone a little bit ago, and I was going to bring it up, against U.S. networks by pro-Iranian hacktivists are likely, and cyber actors affiliated with the Iranian government may conduct attacks against U.S. networks. Iran also has a long-standing commitment to target U.S. government officials it views as responsible for the death of an Iranian military commander killed in January 2020. The likelihood of violent extremists in the homeland independently mobilizing to violence in response to the conflict would likely increase if Iranian leadership issued a religious ruling calling for retaliatory violence against targets in the homeland. Well, they already did that. I don't know what the dude's name is, but he's older than dirt. He's like 90 something. And he had already said that it's the duty of every Muslim to attack U.S. citizens all across the board. All right. So that's already happened. So I don't know what they're talking about. The likelihood of violent extremists in the homeland independently mobilizing, blah, 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 to violence in response to conflict would likely increase if Iranian leadership issued a religious calling for retaliatory violence against targets in the homeland. Multiple recent homeland terrorist attacks have been motivated by anti-Semitic or anti-Israel sentiment, and the ongoing Israeli-Iran conflict could contribute to U.S.-based individuals plotting additional attacks. Now I'm just going to try to read this additional information here. The Iranian government has publicly condemned direct U.S. involvement in the conflict. Both hacktivists and Iranian government-affiliated actors routinely target poorly secured U.S. networks. Now, I can't really see any of the rest of it here. It's kind of covering it up here. Hold on one second. Yeah, what they have right here, which is stupid. Why would you show that and not show all of it? You know what I mean? But the thing is, okay, is that, they're activating this stuff. You know what I mean? They're definitely activating this. Give me a moment here. Hold on. I'm trying to get out of this right here. I'm like locked in. Hold on. Give me a moment. And this was 1 hour ago, so it says the U.S. has intercepted encrypted communications believed to have originated in Iran that may serve as an operational trigger for sleeper assets. Hold on one second. Give me a moment here. I'm pulling this up. Here's an article. Hold on. Iran might be activating sleeper cells outside the country. Alert says the encrypted transmission was intercepted by the U.S. The U.S. has intercepted encrypted communications believed to have originated in Iran that may serve as an operational trigger for sleeper assets outside the country, according to federal government alert sent to law enforcement agencies. The alert, reviewed by ABC News, cites preliminary signals analysis of a transmission likely of Iranian origin that was relayed across multiple countries shortly after the death of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. And I had said that just the other day that they were, likely triggering the sleeper cells to go active. We had talked about this just the other day. All right. The supreme leader of Iran was killed in a U.S.-Israeli attack on February 28th, blah, blah, blah. The intercepted transmission was encoded and appeared to be destined for clandestine recipients who possessed the encryption key, the kind of message intended to impart instructions to covert operatives or sleeper assets without the use of the internet or cellular networks. So that means that more than likely the internet and the cell phones are going to go down. And so that I'm going to pause for a moment here because I want to talk about this. All right, so it's me and my buddy Gray. My buddy Gray is very well connected. He's very much so in the know. We were talking about how it's going to probably take a we'll just say a disaster event scenario. Like more than likely, the sleeper cells are going to piggyback off of some other event that takes place. Whether it be a blackout or a EMP or a cyber attack, like what's being said here. All right, so there's a lot of different scenarios where we can say it could be this, it could be that. We don't know, but if things go dark, okay, and you're having trouble communicating, all right, you need to make sure you have other forms of communication, something that radio face voiceovers got me and my wife long range radios, and we're working towards using those. And I'm, I guess from now on, she's going to take one to work with her. And if anything happens, that way we can at least communicate with each other. She doesn't work far from where we live, so that's a good thing. But my point is that it's more than likely going to be some kind of event that takes place, and they're going to go fully operational inside that event, is what Gray thinks. Okay. And I think that's absolutely a possibility. But we could have it very similar to where, like, the same way Israel on October 7th, where that took place, just, one morning you wake up, you know what I mean? And everything changes. It doesn't necessarily need a cyber attack or anything like that. But they're saying that that these instructions can be imparted to covert operatives or sleeper assets without the use of the internet or cellular networks. It's possible the transmissions could be intended to activate or provide instructions to pre-positioned sleeper assets operating outside the originating country, the alert said. Now, here's the thing. Okay, I was talking about the events that have been kind of happening all over the United States right now, where you have these kind of almost seems like they're kind of like faux attacks, like ghost attacks, where they're saying, oh, there's bombs here, there's bombs there, but they aren't really. And everybody gets the all clear and everybody goes home and everybody starts to get kind of optimistic of things happening. And they're like, oh, this and oh, that, I don't think that that's going to happen. This, I was there, nothing took place, and people start to play things down. But the whole entire time, these are pre-attacks, where they're saying, oh, there's a bomb here, there's a bomb there, can be used to test response times for first responders, okay, and things like that, because we know, like, the things that we've been talking about on this channel are like, a possibility of, attacks, preemptive attacks taking place, and then they wait for the first responders to show up, and then all of a sudden, another attack, another phase 2 attack begins to happen. All right. And then in the meanwhile, there's other people that they go and they start attacking the hospitals that they're going to start taking the victims too. You see what I'm saying? So, honestly, they're saying, and the numbers we've talked about on this channel before, is that can be anywhere from 18,000+, we'll just say plus, 18,000 plus terrorists that are known inside of our country. Some people are going as far as saying there's over 100,000 terrorists that are in the country. Now, if that's the case, and they broke up into 2 to 10-man teams, and they did these sweeps, like what the same way they did on October 7th, And I'll be honest with you, and I'm going to tell you, it's absolutely brutal, and it's the worst thing you've ever seen in your entire life, and it's absolute barbarism. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you go back and you start to kind of study what they did on October 7th, you're going to get kind of an idea of how it's going to be probably when it comes down the pike in American soil. And here's the thing that you got to understand, and I'm going to go as far to say this because I know nobody's going to talk about this, but I'm going to put it out there because I care about my brothers and my sisters in Christ. I pledge allegiance to nothing except for Jesus Christ and to be there for my brothers and my sisters in Christ. And honestly, people who are innocent, especially children, right? But here's the thing, all right? Because our country's turned on us. Our country's turned on God. You know what I mean? Flat out. Like, I love America. I want the best for America, but it's going down the crapper. You know what I mean? That's just the reality of it. But here's the thing. I believe that the government is helping perpetrate this. Like, the government is in on this. This isn't just, some group of Muslims out in the sand playing with sticks and trying to figure stuff out and drawing up plans in the sand. I think that this is absolutely coordinated all the way to the top of the higher echelons of government, even into the shadow government and the people that run the world. This is their plan. This is their plan for destabilization to help bring forward Agenda 2030 in part. You know what I mean? Because I think that they're definitely going to need, possibly a lockdown scenario of some kind. I don't know if that's going to come through sickness, which is absolutely insane lately. It's absolutely insane where all across the board people are getting sick and whatnot, and there definitely could be a lockdown of some kind that we don't see coming, or some sickness emerging that we don't see coming. But right now, I mean, it's very likely that like martial law could be enacted, sort of a situation. And with that being said, give me a moment here. Hold on one second. And I'm going to show this because I want people to know that this has been being planned for a long time. And so I want to show you this trailer, and I think it really lines up with what's coming. I'm trying to get it all lined up here. Hold on. I'm going to stop sharing this, and then I'm going to share this. Hold on. Goodness gracious, getting all jumbled up here. All right. And like I said, I think they've been telling us for a long time what's coming. All right. And so I want you guys to watch this. Hold on. Goodness gracious. Now the audio's not working. Goodness gracious. Hold on. I'm going to have to cancel out of this. Whoa, what a pain, man. What a pain. All right, hold on. Hold on, it's got to load up here. Okay, here we go. Finally, got it figured out. Sorry.
Hello, sir. It's Agent Hubbard, FBI. And what I propose is that you let these people go, and I'll take their place. I'm going to take your silence to mean that you're considering my offer.
Oh, God.
London, Belfast, Beirut. We're not the first city to have to deal with terrorism. This is New York City. We can take it.
You don't understand. These guys are pros. From the age of 12, they've been dodging people like you.
The situation is appalling. They're attacking our way of life. The president wants it stopped, and there's only one way to do that.
Are you saying the president is prepared to take the necessary steps?
Today, with the invocation of the War Powers Act by the president, I am declaring a state of martial law in this city. We intend to seal off this borough, and we intend to squeeze it.
Do you have any idea what you're starting here?
It's wrong.
What if what they really want is for us to herd children in the stadiums like we're doing? And put soldiers on the street and have Americans looking over their shoulders? Bend the law, shred the Constitution just a little bit. We do that, and everything that we have bled and fought and died for is over.
Don't you ever again question my command. Is that clear?
I'm not under your command, General.
Take a look around. Tell me if you really think that's true.
So I think you guys get the idea of what I'm trying to say here. And the reason I even showed that is because the powers that be will always tell you what they're going to do to you. All right. We've never seen a scenario like that, really kind of come to fruition. And it seems like it's really ripe to happen right now. All right. With everything that's going on. And so, now that they've intercepted this communication that's coded, and that, they can use this, during, where there's, no internet, no cellular networks, that it's designed to be, imparted to covert operatives or sleeper assets. All right. It starts to paint a picture of what's coming. It says here, while the exact contents of the transmissions cannot currently be determined, and oh yeah, they can. They know what's going on. They're not stupid. The sudden appearance of a new station with international rebroadcast characteristics warrants heightened situational awareness, the alert said. While the alert is careful to say there is no operational threat tied to a specific location, that just means a free-for-all is what it means to me. That we can't tell you specifically where this is going to happen at, but, there's no specific location, but, there's a threat and all. That's what it's saying to me. It says it does instruct law enforcement agencies to increase their monitoring of suspicious radio frequency activity. All right. So if I don't know how this is going to come about, but this is definitely all around us right now. It says if the contents of the alert prove true, it would confirm the fears expressed by law enforcement officials after the U.S. and Israel struck Iran that sleeper cells deployed around the West could be used for retaliation. So, all right. So Iran might be activating sleeper cells. Okay. So, people, we need to have our heads on a swivel and be aware of our surroundings at all time. I think the little small things that we've seen right now are to test for response times of first responders. I really do. How quickly are the cops going to show up? How quickly does the FBI show up? How quickly does medical personnel get in on things? So that's kind of what Austin, Texas showed them. You know what I mean? And so they can just test things little by little by little. And that seems like what they're doing. How long do they have to get away with something before they have to get real nasty about it and like pull a rip cord on a vest or something like that to detonate, or or worse? You know what I mean? So I think we're kind of up against a wall here. And it seems to me that sleeper cells have been activated. I was literally just on the phone with my buddy Gray, who is a definite insider and knows his business. And he was saying that he thinks that it's going to be during like a blackout scenario. And again, this thing is set up for sleeper assets without the use of internet or cellular networks. So it's over the radio that this stuff is broadcasting, like they know the grid's going to go down. All right. And so people, if the grid goes down, you need to assume the worst and prepare for the worst. All right. I don't know how to spread this far and wide. Like I can't be like, hey guys, share this out to 100,000 people that All right. But at least the people that are going to watch this are going to be a little bit better off if something like that does happen, because I care about people. I don't want to see anything happen to anybody. I don't want people to die unnecessarily or anything like that because of what's going on, and they gosh, people, man. Yeah. So like the thing is is that there's a lot of disinformation out there where people play this stuff down and act like nothing's going to be going on when this stuff happens. It says, as in the days of Noah shall the coming of the Son of Man be. And in the days of Noah, it says the mind of man was violent continually. The world was inundated with violence, inundated with sexual perversion in the days of Noah. All right, in the situation with Lot and Sodom and Gomorrah and all that stuff. These people that say they ate, they drank, they gave themselves in marriage, all that stuff, that just means that they didn't care what was going on and they weren't paying attention to the signs, and they continued on with their lifestyles, not paying attention to what was going on surrounding them. But a lot of people play that out to be like, oh, nothing's going to be happening, and it's going to be idle up until Jesus comes to get his people. It's obviously not idle. Look at what's happening across the globe. Look at what's happening worldwide right now. Look at what's happening where there's terrorist attacks going on in America. There's school shootings going on in America. There's, terrorist attacks happening all over the place in the UK and in Europe and things like that. There's war breaking out all over the place. The cartels going after everybody in Mexico, revolutionary upheavals all over the place. Brazil and even America's starting to get their paws in Ecuador, and what happened in Venezuela and ousting Maduro, and Russia and the Ukraine going at it, and Poland's going to get involved in that eventually, and obviously Iran and Israel and America are going at it. And France is sending troops in, and they're talking about boots on the ground in Iran. Like, it's anything but passive and just letting it, I'll be honest with you, I absolutely despise some of the doctrine of some of these YouTubers that have no idea what biblical prophecy is all about and what God says it was going to be. When Jesus said it was going to be like birthing pains increase. They don't go downwards. It doesn't go the opposite direction and get better. It gets worse. And it gets worse, and it gets worse up until the child is born. And so, I'm really, really wore out with the mentality of people playing down things. All right, and I'm here to not scare people, but to prepare people. I want to warn people, and I want to make sure that people are at least on their toes. Like, I want you to get to the finish line. I want you to I want you to get to where, where when things are happening here, you're not taken off guard. That's my goal. All right. And it's crazy because it seems like there was a time when I'd go live once every 2 days, and now it's going live every single day. And just the past week or so, it seems like I've had to go live multiple times a day. I just went live earlier and was talking about this very stuff. And then I get a email from my brother Dalton, and he's saying that, yeah, it looks like sleeper cells have been activated. It's insane to me. It's absolutely insane to me that it's happening so fast, so quick. And Jesus says, when these things begin to happen, look up, for redemption draweth nigh. The chaos is the sign that we're going home soon. And normal isn't coming back. Jesus is, and so, please, be aware of your surroundings. If there's a blackout, take it very seriously. Like, if you got firearms, get strapped up, get locked and loaded. If you have even a baseball bat, make sure you have something to defend yourself. And if you have a long tube sock, if you have like a melee weapon, like a baseball bat, you can put a tube sock over the end of that. And if they grab that, you can pull it back and the sock will slide off. You know what I mean? But I'll tell you right now, all across the board, the prices of gas are going through the roof. They're talking about that diesel is running out. You know what I mean? So there's just a lot going on. And there's some people saying one thing, and then there's some people saying another. And it's just like this tremendous campaign of disinformation out there right now, trying to confuse, the public. They don't know what's up from down anymore. They don't know what to believe. You know what I mean? And so, I research pretty diligently, and I make sure that my claims are backed up, for the most part. I've been wrong a few times, a handful of times, because I don't want, I'd rather just come out with some information just in case. And there's a couple of times I've been wrong, you know what I mean, where something wasn't happening when I thought it was, you know what I mean. So mistakes can be made. We're only human, but I think it's yeah, no, it's not over. Like they make it out to be like, that Iran is some weakling, and they're not. Like right now at this time, like I promise you, like Russia's giving them weapons. I believe China's giving them weapons. I think they actually found one of these like rockets that they launched that was, that was definitely from China. You know what I mean? And so, it's all across the board. It's all across the board. It's not, they're using up all their cheap stuff. While, Iran is using their cheap stuff, while America and Israel are using their big stuff, and using the expensive stuff. And pretty soon, they're going to have to, I don't know, create factories or something to start producing munitions. Because I'll tell you, my honest opinion right now, is that is that this thing's far from over. Far from over. Give me a second right now, real quick. Hold on. And the side reporting needs to stop, please. Yeah. So yeah, right now at this point in time, earlier today, crude oil was up and it's bottoming out, and it's almost going straight down right now. And that obviously, to me, seems like, time to go stock up on gas right now if you have extra gas cans. You know what I mean? But it seems definitely fictitious. But the side reporting needs to stop. Hold on. I'm just trying to make sure there's something here. Yeah, so they're saying right now Brent crude is trading above 102 to 119 per barrel, and West Texas Intermediate futures exceeding $100 per barrel. Prices spiked over 12% in early trading following supply concerns. Murban crude is 108 per barrel. So, it could be bottoming out right now. In just a couple of moments, it's right back up. So, is it going to affect the price of gas? Possibly. Watch the prices of on the pumps right now. You know what I mean? And make sure that if it is going down, you get in on it, while you can, and stock up on some gas. You know what I mean? And fill your tanks up. Do whatever you got to do. You save a couple of bucks if you can. But they've got the Straits of Hormuz shut down, and they're talking about months that they're going to have this thing shut down. So this is going to have a long-lasting effect. This is so far from over. So far from over. And they're talking about, what was it? Give me a moment here. I got to check the text that I was sent here. Give me a moment here. It was the 82nd Airborne. They're saying they want to take them and put them in on the ground, boots on the ground in Iran. They're talking about the 82nd Airborne Division at this point in time. Yeah. And so, yeah, so I mean, this is so far from over, so far from over. And listen, and I'll say it, Trump is acting like this is already over, and that they've already won, and making it seem like that. No, Iran is not some sissy. They've been planning for this for years. They have underground stockpiles that are all over the place, but they're talking about putting soldiers on the ground to secure the nuclear assets in Iran. So, take it as you will. But I'll be honest with you, you start hearing pops off in the distance, and even in your neighborhood, take it seriously. If it's a blackout and you weren't expecting, like, if there's no bad weather, nothing like that, and there's a blackout or something like that, I would take it seriously. If there's a cyber attack, your internet's not working, something like that, I'd take it seriously. And so, I think that we're in a situation where it takes extreme vigilance, and being aware of our surroundings. And so, with that being said, I don't know too much more to say during this live. I just come on live just long enough because I wanted to give people an update. I always tell you, if something's going to pop off, I'm going to come live, even if it's just for 15 minutes to warn everybody. And I've been saying that this is coming. I mean, I have been saying this for a year and a half that this is coming. I said America's October 7th. Well, it's going to happen. Mark my words. And now you're kind of seeing the trickle of information leading us to see that this thing is a real scenario that's brewing right now. All right. And, I know insiders that are saying that they expect, an attack of some kind during a time of like blackout, EMP, cyber attack, whatever. All right. So if any of that stuff happens, expect the worst, and pray for the best. Though we as Christians, we have Jesus on our side. We don't have to fear any of this, but it would be prudent and important, and we would be a good steward to be prepared for anything and everything that's heading our way. All right. I want to see all of you get to the finish line. That's what I'm all about. I don't care, if I look crazy. I don't care if people say, oh, Josh is a fear monger. You know what? I don't care what you have to say. Your opinion means nothing to me. Absolutely nothing to me. What matters to me is the lives of innocent people that actually do want to pay attention. All right. You have people that purposefully maintain ignorance. They think that it's that it's important to have plausible deniability in a situation like this. I don't think so, Tim. I don't think so, Tim. And I think that it's important for us to be fully aware of our surroundings, and to expect the worst, but pray for the best. Pray Psalms 91 over your family. Keep your children close and keep them safe. You know what I mean? And have a plan. Have a plan. Where could you meet if something pops off and you can't, have communication on a cell phone? I think it's at the point in time, like I'll tell you this. When I was young, my mom and my mom's family treated me as if I couldn't handle, any of the crucial information that was going on in the world. And I think it's at a time now where kids have had to grow up a lot faster than what we would have liked, and they can handle a whole lot more than what we think. And I think that we need to respect our children enough to say, hey, look, there's things brewing in America that we're going to need to be prepared for. And I think that parents need to sit down and talk with their children and be real with them. These kids aren't stupid nowadays, and the internet is fully accessible. Like if your kids can see really bad stuff on the internet, they can find out what news is being pushed out there. They're going to see it on TikTok. They're going to see it on Facebook. They're going to see it on the picture chat or Snapchat, you know what I mean, or Twitch or whatever you call it, you know what I mean. So there's all these different platforms where kids are getting an acceleration of information now, and it would be important that they learn from you rather than learning from the world about what's going on in the world right now, so you can educate them correctly and you can help them to understand. Yeah, absolutely, Patcom. They have weapons stashed at the mosques. Absolutely, their weapons depots. 110%. This is proven. This is proven. So I mean, we're in it now. This is it. This is the final home stretch. Can you stand when the ground is shaking beneath our feet? Are you going to stand on the unshakable foundation that's Jesus Christ, or are you going to allow yourself to collapse and fall down and succumb to what's going on right now? I ain't. I know I ain't. I know I'm going to thrive, not just survive. I plan on being alive up until the pre-tribulation rapture. I am going to give this thing everything I got while I can do it. And I'm going to do it peacefully. I'm not going to be out in the streets, rabble rousing, getting crazy, riding with all the idiots and stuff like that. I'm going to be home where I can protect my family, and I'm going to be there, and I'm going to watch over my wife, and I'm going to watch over my son and my dog and my family members and my friends, and I'm going to watch over my neighbors, and I'm going to have everybody's back, because that's what God would want me to do. That's what God wants you to do. On top of that, witnessing, sharing the gospel, because in such a time as this, doors are going to be open to share the name of Jesus Christ far and wide. You know what I mean? And people are going to be more willing to hear what you have to say, especially if they see that you saw it coming. especially if they see that you saw it ahead of time. You know, I hate that saying like, told you so, but I've been telling everybody and warning everybody. And I've been saying, hey, look, prepare for this, prepare for this, prepare for this. Well, here you are. You have intel that's saying that they're broadcasting radio signals to activate sleeper cells in America. All right. I mean, for real, this is it. You know, it looks to me that it's very official that sleeper cells are being activated. And so it's just a matter of time before things pop off and there's no going back. I mean, I don't think there's any going back now. Normal ain't coming back. Jesus is, everybody. And I'm not going to sit here and parrot myself over and over and over again. I just pray to God in Jesus' mighty name, by the blood of Jesus Christ and by his Holy Spirit, that people will listen to what I'm saying right now, because we are in dangerous waters right now. We are in dangerous territory, and we need Jesus to lead our path. We need him to protect us. We need him to be our shelter in the storm. We need everything that is God in our lives and to focus on that. But we also need to be educated and to be aware, be as wise as a serpent, be knowing, understanding your situation, your scenario. A serpent knows when there's a threat around, you know, especially like a rattlesnake. They got that rattle when they know you're around, and they're letting you know, hey, I see you. I get, you know what I mean? They see the thermal. They know when someone's approaching them. All right. So if we're as wise as a serpent, all right, we're going to know what's around us. We're going to know what's in our surroundings. We're going to be aware, and we're going to be ready to protect our family no matter what cost at any point in given time. All right. And God's going to help us get to the finish line. He's going to be the one that's going to do it. It's going to be through his strength, not your own. And I pray that not one weapon formed against any of you prospers. I pray that God makes your path straight. I pray he clears every single stumbling block and springs every trap before you get to it. I do. I pray that in Jesus' mighty name. I pray protection over you and your spouse and your family in Jesus' mighty name. I pray protection over your home. I pray that if there ever is sleeper cells that go door to door, that they won't even see your house, that it'll look like an empty lot with a bunch of rubbish in it. You know what I mean? Like some tires and a pallet. You know what I mean? Because I've heard stories of God protecting his people and making the situation invisible to the enemy's eye. All right? God has that ability. And we serve that God. We serve Yahweh Elohim Adonai Jehovah. We serve Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus Christ. You know what I mean? Like, he's the one. He's the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords for a reason. And he will have your back with whatever we face next. So with that being said, may God bless you all in these times. May he keep you and your family safe. And do not forget to go out and change this world in which you live.